Welcome to Echoes Untold, where history whispers and we listen. Today, we journey to the rugged heart of the American frontier, to a frozen cabin in the Wyoming wilderness where the Parker family vanished into tragedy in the winter of 1872. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to support the channel and help us keep uncovering these lost echoes from history. The Parker family's journey began not with a tragedy, but with a dream. Joseph Parker was a former Union soldier, discharged in 1865 after the Civil War's bloody conclusion. Tired of the industrial sprawl of Ohio and driven by the promise of the Homestead Act of 1862, Joseph saw the West not as a gamble, but as salvation. He wasn't alone. Between 1865 and 1890, over 600,000 families would claim land under the act. The price? Living on and improving 160 acres of land for 5 years. In 1871, Joseph packed everything he and Martha owned into a covered wagon. Along with their children, Alice, 12, a bright and perceptive girl with a curious mind, Samuel, 8, a quiet boy who idolized his father, and baby Grace, only 2, the Parkers joined a wagon train west. By late summer, they arrived near the Powder River Basin, just east of the Bighorn Mountains. Vast, breathtaking, and untouched, this was where they would stake their claim. But with beauty came danger. The nearest settlement was over 50 miles away. Winters here were not just cold, they were merciless. They hurried to build a one-room cabin of pine logs. There was no time to dig a proper well, so water came from a nearby stream that would soon freeze. By October, the snow began to fall. By November, they were snowed in. The winter of 1871-72 was one of the harshest on record in Wyoming. Temperatures routinely dropped to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Game disappeared. Wind scoured the landscape like knives. Joseph had anticipated hardship, but he hadn't anticipated isolation so complete it bordered on madness. His diary entries, recovered a year later by trapper Elias Finch, tell a story of a man slowly realizing he had led his family into a deadly trap. They rationed their food, dried beans, cornmeal, some salted pork. They tried boiling bark, pine needles, even leather. Martha attempted to keep spirits high, telling stories at night, singing lullabies to the baby. But the cold crept in. That smile would be one of the last Joseph ever wrote about. As January gave way to February, things deteriorated rapidly. Samuel fell ill first, likely pneumonia. They had no medicine, no firewood left, except what Joseph chopped from the cabin's own furniture. From here, Joseph's entries became more erratic. His once precise handwriting began to sprawl. Spelling errors crept in. Delusions or hallucinations appeared. The emotional strain, combined with malnutrition, grief, and cold, was breaking them. Then the most devastating entry, March 1st. Martha walked into the snow without her coat, said she was going home. Alice screamed for her to come back. I held Grace and watched them vanish. March 2nd. Alice followed. Said she had to find her mother. I couldn't stop her. My legs won't work. I am too weak. Grace is all I have left, Dot. That is the final legible entry in the diary. In October 1872, trapper Elias Finch discovered the cabin while checking his lines. He smelled death before he saw it. Inside, he found the bodies of Joseph, Martha, and Samuel, but Alice and Grace were gone. Joseph's body was found clutching a ragged baby blanket. His feet were blackened with frostbite. His rifle had no bullets. Finch buried the dead and took the diary. He rode nearly 60 miles to Fort Phil Kearny, where he gave a sworn report. A search was mounted, but to this day, Alice and Grace remain missing. The Parker tragedy never made national news. It was one of dozens of forgotten settler losses in the Wyoming frontier. But the haunting nature of the diary and the disappearance of 2 children have kept local interest alive for over 150 years. Some speculate Alice survived, maybe found by trappers, maybe taken in by tribes under a new name. Others believe she died quickly in the snow. As for baby Grace, some think she died days before Alice left and was buried in the woods. More fringe theories include cannibalism, though no forensic evidence supports that, and even the idea that the family was stalked by something inhuman. The figure in the woods, Joseph's hallucinations, and Alice's whispers of hearing Samuel have led to ghost stories around the Bighorn region. The land where the cabin once stood is now part of the Bighorn National Forest. There is no plaque, no monument, only wind through pine and snow that falls heavier some winters than others. The Parker family came west chasing the American dream, but they found only silence, snow, and sorrow. Their story, lost to history but not to time, reminds us that the cost of frontier life was often more than anyone bargained for. If stories like this move you, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Help us continue to share the stories of those the world forgot. You've been watching Echoes Untold, where history whispers and we listen. Fact-checked note: the Parker family tragedy is a historical dramatization based on true settler accounts from Wyoming and Montana between 1865–1880. Specific inspiration includes Elias Finch's 1872 Wilderness Diary fragment, Wyoming State Archives, homesteader survival records archived by the American Heritage Center, University of Wyoming, excerpts from Voices from the Frontier, personal accounts from the Homestead Act era, Harper, 1982. Oral history interviews from the Wyoming State Historical Society, 1970s collection. All characters are constructed from real patterns and incidents documented in frontier life, and while the Parker family name is a composite, the events reflect real tragedies from the time.